what does it really mean to be given a future? Today, we're going to dive into the incredible memoir, The Future Ahead. It's a story that kicks off with a father's impossible choice and ends with a powerful lesson on how we can define our own freedom.
So let's get right into it. This whole extraordinary journey, it doesn't start with the chaos of war. Not really. It begins with a quiet but profound act of love.
You know, this entire story, everything that follows, it all hinges on one single moment back in early 1985. A moment born from a father's desperate hope for his children's future.
I mean, just think about that. The author centers his whole life, his very survival, on this one heartbreaking choice. To him, it wasn't just a decision. It was the gift of a future he otherwise never, ever would have had.
And you have to understand, this wasn't some calculated plan. It was a last, desperate gamble in a world that had been completely turned upside down. A world where, as the author puts it, death had become more magnificent than life. With no way to fight back, his parents' only hope was to send their sons out into the total unknown.
To really wrap our heads around what was lost, we have to see the world that this war just completely shattered. Because it wasn't always a place of fear. Not at all.
The author paints this incredibly vivid picture of a peaceful childhood in his Dinka tribe, a life filled with these simple joys. He and his brother would spend hours making little toys from the soil and playing games like this one, just lying on their backs, claiming the colorful birds flying overhead as their own. It's such a beautiful and heartbreaking image of innocence.
And then, just like that world vanished. The games of childhood were replaced by the terrifyingly real presence of death. The question was no longer, hey, which bird is mine? But when will I die?
So, what caused all this devastation? Well, the book points to a really deep and bitter divide. You had the government in the north, with Arabic roots, controlling all the country's resources. And then in the south, you had people of African origin with their own distinct cultures and languages who were systematically held back. This huge power imbalance just fueled a conflict that would rage for decades.
Okay, let's shift gears now to the author's actual physical journey and see how this harrowing escape unfolded. Because this was not a short trip to safety. This was a marathon of sheer endurance.
This timeline really shows you the incredible scale of his journey. We're talking nearly 20 years, from a war-torn village in South Sudan to a desperate struggle just to survive in the north, all the way to a new and very uncertain life in America.
Survival was a constant daily battle. He describes his time in the capital city as the absolute darkest of his life. For refugees with no skills and no money, this city wasn't a safe haven. In his words, it was a place of slow death, a place where hope just went to die.
And yet, even in those darkest of times, he found heroes. From a man named Abraham Gama who first put him in school, to the church that paid for his education, and even a supervisor at a Target in America who gave him time off to study. These were the people, the institutions that offered a lifeline and kept that flicker of hope for a future alive.
Arriving in America wasn't the end of his journey. No, in many ways, it was the beginning of a brand new one. An internal battle with a whole new set of profound and often painful lessons.
He learned pretty quickly that escaping a war in his home country didn't mean he had escaped prejudice. He came to understand what he calls blackness, not just as the color of his skin, but as this powerful and often invisible force that shaped how he was perceived in every single aspect of his new life.
His experiences also led him to seriously question his faith. I mean, how could a loving God allow so much suffering? The book doesn't offer any easy answers, but it courageously explores this really deep and painful spiritual struggle.
Through all the trauma and all the challenges, his father's hope for a better future, for a life of purpose, well, it fueled this incredible drive to learn. His commitment to education just never wavered, and you can see it right here from these remarkable achievements.
So after everything he endured, the war, the loss, the prejudice, the doubt, what's the ultimate lesson? What is the wisdom he wants to share with all of us?
He doesn't offer easy answers, but he does give us this powerful guide. It's like a roadmap for living a meaningful life on your own terms, one that was forged in the fires of his own survival. It's really a call to action, to keep learning, to contribute, and to always, always look forward.
And that right there, that is the ultimate lesson of this incredible story. After losing absolutely everything, the author realized that true freedom, it isn't something that's just given to you. It's not something you find in a new country. It's something you have to build day by day for yourself.